Welcome to Maker Camp. It's Science and Technology Week.
It's going to be a good one. We've got some terrific guests for you today. They've made circuit design and programming accessible to just about everybody. Massimo Banzi brought some developers together and created Arduino, which is an open source platform that's been adopted worldwide. CEO from littleBits is here. Ayah Bdeir, her product, I have a good one for this now. There we go. So it helps people create simple and sophisticated electronic circuits using parts that just snap together with magnets. So it's going to be really fun.
I'm very excited for that, for sure. And we're going to have one of our affiliate sites from the Guadalupe Branch Library in Arizona with us. And we'll check in with our counselors about today's project, the randomly influenced finger flute.
Let's get ready to make something great.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Camp Director Paloma.
And I'm Camp Director Sam. As always, we really look forward to hearing from you, so please post your questions in the comments bar so we can ask them on the show.
And if you are one of our affiliates, like the one that we have today, and want to appear live with us in the future, go to the affiliate information page and fill out the form. But first, I think we're going to throw it over to our counselors, and they're going to be able to talk to us a little bit about our affiliate and about our daily project.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Enrique.
And I'm Brian. Every day we show you what you've been working on, and today we've got some guest makers from the Guadalupe Branch Library in Arizona who are going to tell us about their projects. Please welcome Danielle, Bianca, and Andrea to the Maker Camp. Thank you for joining us. Tell us about your projects.
Hi. Well, we are using in our projects littleBits and Arduino. We have here some robotic arms that are using Arduino to move and dance. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, it looks great.
And it's showing you its muscle right now. So yeah, it's flexing for you. It's got muscle. It's later on I'm gonna do a little kind of like a snake dance. Just give it a second and it'll keep showing off.
All the parts are 3D printed.
Yeah, so all the parts that are pink here have been 3D printed on the 3D printer that we have. So right now it's doing the little snake kind of dance. So, and then we also have this white one right here, and also using the Arduino Uno, and it's controlled by a joystick, which is behind here, and it moves around according to the joystick, opens and closes, and it's just really cool project. It took a while to print and program and everything, but it ended up really great, and it helped me experience more with Arduino. And then also, working with littleBits, I did here, I posted it on the littleBits community. Don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a, like say it's curve generator, so using the two dimmers that I have from the littleBits bundle, it can draw out and create a little picture on my computer. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Those are the projects.
And the littleBits, she just started 3 days ago.
Yeah, this weekend I got the littleBits bundle. So.
You are a quick learner. That looks great, and I'll check out the littleBits community page to be able to see that a little bit more up close, for sure.
I just want to make a comment about the Arduino. She's actually helping some of the girls learn math.
Yes.
Tell them about?
So I basically wanted to do both of the projects to learn a little bit more about trigonometry and geometry using sine and cosine. So the kind of the waves that the arm made, it kind of, since I am a visual learner, it kind of helped me more with the and interacting with the robot. It helped a lot.
That's a great application for that. And for those of you who don't know, sine waves go like that, and cosine waves go like that. Because math is cool, kids. Math is awesome. Learn it.
School's gonna start, so.
Those look so great. Thank you so much for sharing those. I love seeing that, and I'm so inspired by how quickly you learned all that stuff. So keep it up. Keep sharing it with the various communities of Google Plus for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, so stay with us. We'll be coming back to you guys a little bit later in the show for questions and stuff like that. So campers, we want to see your projects this summer, so take pictures and video of what you're working on and post them to the Maker Camp community page. Show us what you've made, what you've learned, and what you want to make next.
Cool. So today's daily project is the random input finger flute. It came from us from Super Awesome Sylvia. It's a fun project for all skill levels. So it's Arduino based. You can get the codes and the materials necessary in our project link. So basically, I just use an Arduino 1. Here's the Arduino. And the project traditionally had you just hook up the ground and the pin to the speakers, the positive and negative wires, but I actually upgraded it with a potentiometer so I could adjust the volume whenever I wanted, so turning it on. And it's pretty simple. You just touch the analog pins in the back and it alters the melody like this. Yeah, it's a super simple project and really fun to build.
Very cool.
Very effective. Looks great. Thank you so much for showing that.
Yeah, no problem.
So remember to post your pictures and videos to the Maker Camp community page, and we'll share them on the Hangout with you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what all of you do with today's awesome daily project. It brought to us from Super Awesome Sylvia. So I love the name of it too. And I want to bring on our first guest, who the Make movement owes so much to this guest. This guest is a co-founder of Arduino, and it is a programmable computing platform that is a fantastic entry point for anyone wanting to go from a more basic understanding to really bringing on that programming skill. So Massimo Banzi, welcome to Maker Camp, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, thanks for being here. Massimo, why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit how you got the idea for the project? What problems were you trying to solve with it?
Well, I was about 10 years ago. I was teaching in a design school in the northwest of Italy, and so my students are adults. They're really clever, but they don't have any background in software or electronics. So me and some friends started to figure out how can we create a tool that will allow people to work with electronics without having to go through like 5 years of engineering school. So how can we get them started in a month? So we put together some existing open source tools that were available, and then one of my students did like a great thesis on the topic, so all the pieces came together, and we about 10 years ago we sort of kind of started to have Arduino, the beginnings of Arduino, so like a simple programmable board with some instruction written in like a fairly simple language. That's how it started. Then it kind of escaped from the lab like a virus and kind of went and did all sorts of other stuff.
It's a very positive virus. So thank you for creating it.
Yeah, it's great. And you often describe what you do as saying what you've created with you don't need someone's permission to make something great. So can you explain a little bit to us about what that quote means to you, and what's your favorite thing about bringing all of this to young makers?
Well, it all starts once I was doing a workshop in London to a group of women that were in a class about fashion and textile design. And one girl asked me at some point, what am I allowed to do? So there was this idea that technology is this scary thing that you need to ask people's permission to be part of, no? And it's actually exactly the opposite. So so I told her that she could do whatever she wanted. She should just try out. Instead of asking me, she should just try out. And I said, nothing bad is gonna happen. The worst thing that can happen, you get some sparks, maybe some smoke, but who cares? And just keep going. And so in the end, I realized that a lot of people kind of are afraid when they look at technology, but it's, it's effectively, the information is available. It's not as difficult as people think, and you can actually learn how to build some really, really cool stuff. So just go out and try.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've been able to really I started out being really scared about technology, and I didn't know where to go, and I only wanted to follow instructions and stay within a box. And so the first time that I actually got to play with an Arduino and figure it out, there was this awesome sense of joy that I can change anything. I can make it do whatever I want. And there's this really fun moment that happens when you start to play with an Arduino for the first time, that you realize there's so many possibilities. So that's why I really, really love it.
Well, from my point of view, I started off as a kid playing around with electronics. So in a way, inside Arduino, there are some things that I wanted when I was a kid. But as a kid, I didn't know any better, so I just experimented. I blew up a number of circuits. I had a capacitor fly next to my eye and sort of missed my eye by a centimeter. But who cares? I learned a lot by all the explosion and the smoke and all the other sort of interesting side effects of my experimentations.
Explosions for educational good, I think, is a lesson that more and more people can take to heart here. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, so wear your safety glasses, campers, when you're exploding things.
Do that.
You'll learn one thing today. Wonderful. Massimo, what excites you most about the way that this project has just taken off?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's kind of escape out of the lab. It was originated as a tool just very specific to a group of people experimenting on the design world, and then it goes out in the world. And obviously, when I see the kids building this robotic arm, for me, it's amazing, to see what they're able to do, And also, I love the quote about the fact that you build a robotic arm and suddenly you're learning about trigonometry and geometry, which in a way, for me, I followed a similar pattern. When I was in school and they taught me about geometry in abstract, it was very boring. And as soon as I started to build stuff, it all made sense. And I started to learn a lot more. So I love the fact that it enabled a lot of people to be creative with electronics. So some people sometimes don't associate electronics with creativity, but to me electronics is like, when you use a brush to paint or you use a pen to write, a poem. Electronics, you can build some electronic poem. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and this project that you've created has inspired so many people to do tons of amazing things, just like our affiliate that we have with us today. And I actually want to jump back over there and talk to Danielle, because Danielle, you've really been inspired by Arduino. So do you have a question for Massimo?
Yes, I have been inspired. Massimo, Arduino has impacted many people from around the world to pursue or continue in their engineering careers. So when you were creating the Arduino 10 years ago, did you believe it would become such a worldwide tech phenomenon? And also, since it has been 10 years, what are you going to do with Arduino now? Or are you starting another project or something?
Well, thank you for the question. In a way, I didn't expect it was going to be this big. So I was trying to solve a very specific problem to a group of people I work with every day. So I knew what the issues were, and I didn't expect this thing to become really big. But in the end, the students that we work with, there was a friend of mine here a second ago who was the co-founder of Arduino. Both our students went out in the world and made amazing projects. And those amazing projects inspired a lot of people, and this kind of ripple effect, produced the incredible amount of people who are using Arduino right now to build stuff. So obviously there was no expectation. I'm really glad that it happened. And we spent a lot of time sort of promoting the Arduino to a lot of people, and this work kind of, buried fruit. And I guess the issue here is that every time, we started off with this idea of simplifying the access to technology. How can we lower the barrier that you have when you want to use a new technology? So with this project, it's never ending. So we can, every time we make something simpler, there is a next step which you need to make it simpler and simpler, and there are different opportunities. So I think this is potentially a never-ending project. Sometimes I would love to have the chance to maybe do something different for a bit, you know. But you know, it's I would say that working on Arduino is, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on every day. So definitely nobody here is bored. I'm sure that's at least, you know.
I bet. I mean, there's so many different things that people have done. I just imagine that you must have somebody full time just looking at things that have done with Arduino, just going. I mean, it's amazing the stuff that you've created and that you've enabled. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's fantastic. We love it.
And we actually had somebody from a previous hangout who was talking to us about using Arduino, and we were like, just you wait, because in like an hour, guess who's going to be on? So it's. You've really done some really amazing things for this community, so thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Thank both of you for coming here. And please stay with us because we're going to be getting you some questions from campers in just a minute.
But first, before we do that, we're going to go ahead and bring on our second guest. I'm very excited for this guest. Ayah Bdeir is a founder of littleBits, and it is just like the Arduino. It's a great way to get into working with circuits and electronics, and you know, from blinking lights all the way through to space exploration. You use like magnets that pop together to make this really awesome thing. So Ayah, thank you so much for being here with us at Maker Camp.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited.
We're so excited to have you. So can you tell us, how did you get the idea for littleBits?
Sure. So I'm an engineer by background, and did computer engineering, and then I was at the Media Lab for my master's doing a lot of art projects that used electronics. And so I became, not unlike Massimo, really interested in this idea of being creative with electronics and realizing that I was able to use electronics as a material because I had an engineering degree. But many of my other friends, whether they're artists, designers, inventors, entrepreneurs, they really couldn't express themselves using electronics as a material. And so I started doing some research about that, but it wasn't until a couple of years later that I came up with littleBits while doing a fellowship at IBEAM. And really the idea was inspired on one hand by Lego and the way Lego made building blocks out of structural engineering to allow anyone to make a bridge or a castle or a very complex structure through these building blocks. You know, how do we achieve the same thing with electronics? How do we make a building block? And on the other hand, being inspired very much by C++ and how C++ and other object-oriented programming allowed people to get started within seconds and research online and suddenly be able to create really complex applications without necessarily having been software engineers. So really bringing these two together, littleBits came about, and the idea is it's these modular circuits that are each pre-engineered and pre-assembled, and they range from the very simple like LEDs and pulse and buttons to the very complex like wireless radio frequency, or we have an Arduino a bit that we did in partnership with Massimo and his team, all the way to the newest module that we just launched, which is called the Cloud Bit, which allows you to make internet-connected devices within minutes.
Not bad. Very cool. And campers, we know that you've been experimenting with littleBits, and we'd love to see what you've been doing. So please post your projects to the community page.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many awesome things that you can do with this, and we actually have one of your Arduino starter bundles here. So yeah, I mean, it's so cool and it's so fun. So now that I have one of these, if I'm a camper, what kind of projects can I do with this?
So the bundle actually ships with a bunch of projects right out of the bag that you can get started with. You can make an animatronic hand, you can make an Etch-a-Sketch, you can make sort of these pet feeder projects that we've been hearing more and more about, and there's hundreds of other projects on the website if you go to the make page on littlebits.com. And actually the one that I want to mention, we launched a few days ago, was it a few days ago, maybe last week, a new new bit called the cloud bit that I was just mentioning, and if you combine that with the Arduino, then literally like the entire world opens up to you, because you can start to make these very, very complex internet-connected inventions and control them with your phone or with your computer, all sorts of things, and using the brain of Arduino and the connectivity of the cloud bit, you can really kind of unleash all these ideas. We have a video, I think we can look at it. I think you guys have it.
The Internet of Things is getting so full of things. Instead of buying all new things, let's reinvent what we already have. This is the cloud bit. It can make any dumb thing an internet-connected smart device. You can talk directly to your things and not be crazy. Because now, they'll talk back. So whether you're recreating the most popular things, bringing your home to life, inventing the incredible, or prototyping the next billion-dollar idea, the cloud bit is the easiest way for anyone to snap the internet to anything.
Wow, that's so cool. Oh, I'm so excited to see what people do with that. That's amazing.
I had guests who call me, and
yeah, it's exciting. We're already seeing people make an umbrella notification device so that you don't forget your umbrella when it's raining. You know, lots of pet feeders. We've seen people do remote playing through adding the cloud bit with some synth bits that we've made, and also just sort of learning more about the Internet of Things, combining the Arduino bit as well. So it really becomes kind of a box of tricks that you can come up with on the spot, and it's exciting to see what people are going to come up with.
I can't wait to see what people are going to come up with for that. And campers, don't forget that you can get your own starter bundle in the Maker Shed and start getting ready with littleBits right away.
Yeah, I've seen so many people get so excited about this. It's just a fantastic way if you've maybe got some younger makers that want to get involved with electronics. You're not quite ready to let them start soldering, but you want them to learn. This is a fantastic thing. So definitely look into it. It's really, really amazing. And thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Now, I'm wondering, were you always interested in electronics? What kind of stuff did you make when you were growing up?
I was always interested in electronics. I was interested when I was younger because I had a lot of electricity sets and chemistry kits and things like that. I was always interested in science and technology in general. But then when I did my undergrad, I did computer engineering in a pretty program, and I kind of fell out of love with engineering because it was a lot of textbooks and a lot of formulas, and we didn't have a lot of hands-on learning. So I fell out of love with engineering for a while until when I graduated, I went to the Media Lab and went back into making, and that's when I fell in love again. It's so important to do applied science and technology, to make your own projects, whether it's a robot or it's a wearable, or it's an installation, or it's a wall. As soon as you start making again, you start to learn on demand, and you get very curious, and sort of the passion drives you through some of the obstacles that you see. So now I'm, obviously very, very much inspired and emboldened by all the things that I see and that we've done, and really the sky is the limit. So it takes a tiny bit of investment in the beginning, but it returns so much in return.
I couldn't agree more. Hands-on learning really is the best way to really pick up all of these really just challenging concepts, like we were talking about at the library earlier, learning math and science. When you actually see something using that science and applying that information, you get so much more out of it. So that's what my favorite thing about this community is, that you take these abstract concepts and we're making them you can understand them, you can hold them in your hand and really figure them out. So that's my favorite thing about
It's a powerful thing. It's very good.
It is.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us again, and please stay with us because we're going to be getting you some questions from those campers who have been following along this whole time, coming up right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Arduino Day at Maker Camp. We're speaking with Arduino co-founder Massimo Banzi and littleBits CEO Ayah Bdeir. Campers, counselors, why don't we start us off with some questions from the campers?
Actually, let's head over to Danielle at the Guadalupe branch library. I believe she has a question for Ayah.
Oh, yes. My question is, since the littleBits is primarily directed towards little kids learning how to use electronics, why do you think that the amazing simplicity of connecting two things together has also brought in a new, an older target group to the littleBits community? I'm asking this question because I got my littleBits this weekend, and the minute I started playing with it, my dad came over and he kind of wanted to take over, and so we kind of had to collaborate together on creating things, but he was so intrigued on it as much as I was.
Well, I'm very happy that we're helping in creating family conflict. No, I'm joking. littleBits has always been about inspiring everyone to be creative with electronics. Our mission actually is to put the power of electronics in the hands of everyone. So that means anyone who didn't know that they had it in them, whether you're a kid, whether you're a designer, an artist, you're a teacher, or you're a professional engineer, anyone should be able to get started with electronics within seconds and really be inspired. And in the beginning few years of the company, we were building up the library, the foundation, so there was lots of lights and sounds and sensors and simple things, and a lot of what you could make with littleBits was pretty simple. Sort of squishy toys and simple robotics. But as we've been building up the library more and adding these complex bits, we're starting to see a lot more of an older audience get involved. Even professional engineers that absolutely know how to solder, wire, program for themselves, they just want to speed up their prototyping time. Or people who are, teachers that are, STEM teachers or STEAM teachers that really know what they're doing, but they want to be able to do something quickly or very flexible. So our goal is to really grow the community to be independent of age, discipline, gender, and technical ability, so that everybody can kind of collaborate. The example between you and your dad is a perfect example. We think that that's where the most creative things will happen, is at the intersection of ages, of disciplines, of different interests that people have, and then you're going to have this burst of ideas that come that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been possible.
There really is no age limit on making. I mean, this weekend on the Google Plus page, somebody posted a picture of a dad learning to solder, and her 12-year-old daughter was teaching him how to do it. It's never too late to start, and there's always something that you can learn at every age. So you can start at 5 doing Lego like our guests from last week, or you can start when you're older, and maybe you think that you're past your making prime. You are not. Keep it up and share your passions with your parents, campers.
Thank you.
So counselors, let's hear some of the questions from our campers.
Yeah, so Massimo, Annika asked, can you build your own Arduino board, and what are some of the daily applications for Arduino?
Well, yeah, on the website we actually have instructions on how you can build your own Arduino compatible board, and you can even actually build something which is Arduino compatible on a breadboard. So you just actually need just the main processor and a few parts, and you have something that can run Arduino code. And I think that's, I guess, one of the important things when we built Arduino. We wanted people to be able to build their own if they wanted to, or to use the basic circuit for their own products, so to extend the work that we were doing. And about the daily application, it's really huge. So I did a presentation at TED, but for 15 minutes it just went on and showed examples, and I could have gone on for a couple of hours, but that would have been a little bit boring. But in a way, there's people that use it for building toys, people who make music with it, people who build they use it at CERN to measure temperature inside the equipment that are part of the Large Hadron Collider, so one of the biggest sort of physics experiments in the world. They put it on balloons, they put it on satellites, they put it on drones. So it's anything that you can build with a piece of electronics has probably been built with an Arduino, including some applications that are a little bit kind of, complex, like related to health, which is something that we, it's not always a good idea to build your own without like some expert. You wouldn't want to use like, I don't know, a pacemaker built with an Arduino by somebody who's learned like the week before. So there's a lot of like crazy applications.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily trust that pacemaker, but I would be very inspired about it. Yeah, there's so many. I know a friend is on his university's Formula One team, and they use an Arduino in their car, and he was just like, "What? Arduinos are everywhere!" As soon as I started telling him about them, he just started noticing them every single place that he went. So they really are everywhere and can be used for anything. And counselors, let's hear some more questions.
Maria asked Massimo, what's an example of an interesting project you see using open source hardware with the Arduino?
Whoa, okay. Well, there are some interesting open source hardware projects that are derived in a way or another from Arduino. Like a lot of the open source 3D printers that you see around, they either use an Arduino board or they have their main board is derived from Arduino in a way or another. So I think in a way that was, to me, one of the interesting examples of like people have this kind of open source building block. They start building something and then they extend on the work of other people. And then suddenly you have a piece of electronics which is very, very different from an Arduino board, but you can trace, the history back to Arduino. And a lot of this open source 3D printing is totally enabled by Arduino boards. The same can be said about a bunch of robots or a bunch of drones that you see are actually started off as an Arduino project, and then the circuit got extended several times, and now you have a board which is obviously incredibly different from an Arduino, but at the heart is still the Arduino board that they started with.
I think that's the best thing about Arduinos is that they are so accessible in the beginning that you can start with just blinking an LED, but you can carry that same board with you through your creations and all the way through to creating your own board. So you can start with something that's very simple with just plugging in an LED and then just build up on that. And so that's really, I think, the most inspiring thing about this project is being able to, I mean, it's also economical because you can keep this board with you and it doesn't have a shelf life. It just keeps being awesome and useful. So I think that's a really hard thing to accomplish with a product, but both of you have been able to do that really well with your products.
I think it's a very exciting time for technology and electronics in general. I mean, the work that Ayah is doing is bringing a lot of people, because they start from people that are even less knowledge. Because to start with Arduino, you need to work a little bit more. While with littleBits, you can really start like in 5 seconds, you build something. So I think we created a nice kind of path for people to go from zero to being like, electronic startups or something like that.
That's so great. Thank you so much for that. And counselors, let's get another question in here because I know that the campers have so much appreciation for both of these amazing things. So, counselors?
Yeah, so Chris asked Ayah, can you tell us a little bit more about using the cloud-bit, and do you have any accessories for the cloud?
Sure. So the cloud-bit is sort of as simple as any other littleBits module. So it's pre-engineered, pre-assembled. It snaps with magnets. The only extra step that you have to do with the cloud-bit is you configure it and you connect it to your local Wi-Fi. So that's something that you can do with the littleBits web app. So you just go to littlebits.cc/cloud and it asks you to enter your Wi-Fi username and password, and then suddenly you can use it just like any other littleBits module, literally instantaneously. And the things that it's enabled, people are using it for making things like an SMS doorbell, so that you can, press a button if you're working in the garage or you have headphones on. When somebody rings your doorbell, you get an SMS instead of just ringing the doorbell. Other people have made things like, for example, designers have made things where they trigger a series of cameras remotely so they can follow an athlete through running, and they can stitch the camera together. Other people have used it to create a remote control door lock, like a DIY Lockatron, and then all the way to home automation. So we've seen people do things like remotely connect their AC or their lights, things like that, all sort of as simple as snapping together. Some of the accessories that we have, so the Cloud Bundle comes with a mounting board so that you can snap it into a board and you can leave it. It's kind of like almost like a Lego plate. We also have these shoes that you can snap to the bottom of the bit, so that if you want them in a permanent or semi-permanent configuration, and then you can they have magnet backing or adhesive backing or Velcro backing. And then in a couple of months, we're going to have one more accessory, which is called the AC switch, which allows you to turn on 110 volts in a very safe way without being kind of afraid of doing something wrong. So we keep adding. Every accessory works with every other accessory. Every module works with every other module. So it's really a very, very open and open-ended library.
Very cool. It sounds like you're doing a lot to even limit the amount of fear that people are having with things like AC power and just every little pain point along the way. So.
Yeah, the idea is that, if there's usually a fear causes people to be very conservative or sometimes not even get started. And the fear is founded. You could do something wrong with electronics, and there is current involved, and you could fry something, you could make something smoke, and in a very dangerous situation, you could cause something more serious than that. But with some of the tools that were talked about, including Arduino, littleBits, some of the others, Raspberry Pi, etc., there's a lot more focus on how to make it as safe as possible, so you don't have to worry. You just get started right away. There's nothing dangerous that you could do, and at the worst case scenario, you make something that doesn't work, and that's not scary at all. It's just you try again.
That's fantastic. It's just a learning experience or a happy accident. Very, very well done. Massimo, I was wondering, Arduino's already done a lot to simplify programming for people. Are there any further steps to make that even easier now that it's been around for a while?
Yes, we've been working on a number of experiments to simplify the way people develop their code. So we've experimented a little bit with visual development environments. I mean, none of the ones that we built were very exciting to us. They didn't really add that much. So we're still working on that area to get something that will probably give like a much better user experience. Also, we now made this new development environment, which is actually built in HTML5. So the idea is that this particular new IDE could be run from a website, can be run directly from a board. But also the advantage for us was this idea that since it's essentially built to run in a browser, you can, for example, surround your code with a tutorial. So you could be maybe watching a video, and next to the video you have your development environment. So you can pause the video and like develop the code and upload it to your Arduino. So we're trying to kind of, so in a way, blend the development environment with all the stuff that normally people have open in different windows, so that you can get one window that kind of concentrates all the things you need, so you don't lose concentration by keep switching from different windows. So these are some of the things that are happening now to make life simpler.
Thank you for making my life simpler. That sounds exciting. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that because, sometimes programming, and it can be really scary at first. So having something that eases you into it, that's why I really love that so many architects are working with Scratch. It's a great way to bring that programming in for the first time. And I think we should throw it back over to the counselors for one question. So counselors, give us a good one.
Reagan asked, how do I get started with Arduino, and what boards and projects do you recommend for beginners?
All right. So I guess, I would say the boards that usually beginners start with are either the Arduino Uno or the Arduino Leonardo, because they're quite robust, and they give you they're fairly basic, so it's fairly easy to use. I tend to recommend people to actually discover the Arduino Leonardo, which is quite interesting because the chip on the Leonardo can pretend to be a keyboard or a mouse. So you can even write software that runs on your Arduino that when you plug it into the computer, it takes over your computer and start to click on things. So the Arduino bit in the littleBits is actually based on the Leonardo chip, so you can do these cool things as well. One of the ways that we recommend people, you can learn Arduino from a lot of online resources. So there's a bunch of tutorials on the Arduino website. Adafruit has a huge amount of tutorials that you can start with. But one thing that I would also recommend that a lot of people love is that we have this thing called the Arduino Starter Kit. It's a box. It contains a book, an Arduino, and a truckload of other sensors, and so you can build 12 different projects using that box. So that's one way. Or actually, years ago, I wrote a book for Make called Getting Started with Arduino, which is a small book. You can read it very quickly. And again, it's designed to get you started very quickly. So these are different ways you can get started.
Yeah, the Getting Started with Arduino book really is a fantastic resource. It helped me out a lot when I was in the cloudy early stages of figuring out Arduino. So I always recommend that when people ask how to get started with, because it's called Getting Started with Arduino, so it's a really great resource for that. So campers, if you really are interested in learning more about Arduino a little bit, be sure to check them out. And the Maker Shed has a lot of really great information and products on there to really help you start your journey down this fantastic road. So I really want to thank all of our guests for being here today. You are so inspiring and have brought us just a wealth of information and resources to make all of our projects come to life. So Ayah Bdeir, Massimo Banzi, and our affiliate site at the library in Arizona, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, as well. And campers, be sure to watch tomorrow. We have Emily Baltz, whose work explores the science of our senses and hacking our brains with food.
That's going to be really fun. Cannot wait. And campers, if you were inspired by anything you saw on the show today, remember, do try this at home. Goodbye, campers.
Take care.
Bye. As of right now, the trend doesn't have any